The GAN 16 is one of the most hyped up cubes of the year. As GAN's newest flagship, expectations couldn't be higher, and at $84.99 it's definitely not cheap, so it better be good. Big thanks to the Cubicle for sending me this puzzle to review and show you guys. I really appreciate it. Let's dive in and see if the GAN 16 actually lives up to the hype or if it's just another release. Starting off with specs, the cube weighs 66 grams, comes with UV coating, and uses maglev technology. Now let's talk about the mechanism, starting out with the center. The centers have skirts, giving it a bit more of a mogu-like look. As for GAN's honeycomb design, it still exists, but it is a lot less pronounced as there is not as much honeycomb design as in previous GAN flagship models. Now, let's talk about edges because the edges have these wings which ironically make it look a lot like a Weilong. So did GAN just make its own version of a Weilong? Well, now let's move on and talk about adjustment. First comes the dual adjustment system. You can pry open the center cap by hand, or instead you can use the interesting tool to remove the center cap. Once you pry open the center cap, you'll be able to use the fire hydrant tool to adjust the center tension or the center travel distance. And what's really nice is that this is relatively easy to do. One side of the fire hydrant tool is for center travel distance and the other side is for tension. And what's really cool about the system is that the settings are actually easy to read as the numbers for the settings are clearly labeled in black, unlike some other cubes which have a similar type of dual adjustment system, but it's hard to figure out what setting you're on. Now let's move on and talk about magnets. For magnets, there's no lever or switch to change magnet strength, unlike some previous GAN models such as the GAN 14 and 14 Pro. However, like previous GAN models, you can swap out the corner to core magnets to make them stronger or weaker, or even remove them entirely. But let's be honest, I don't think anyone's removing them entirely. Edge center magnets are also a default with the cube, but you can also optionally remove them. It really depends on what you like. I should also mention changing the magnets requires using the fire hydrant tool, and it is not easy to do. It can take quite a bit of effort, takes some patience. So overall, this cube has quite a lot of customization, which can be both good and bad. The good thing is that while there are a lot of settings, they're actually mostly all quite usable, unlike some previous GAN models which advertised tons of settings, but many made the cube too tight or too loose and straight up unusable. The downside, however, is there are still a lot of choices, and it can take a while to find what works best. So now let's talk about my setup. For my setup, I'm running center travel at 3 and tension at 4. I've got the green capsule strong magnets in the corners, and I've left the edge to center magnets in place. With that said, who cares about my settings? Because GAN has shared the settings of their top sponsorees, which is really cool. And they have very different settings from each other, which shows that pretty much every option can work depending on your preference. If you're unsure where to start, just try one of their setups. And if your turning style is similar to any of them, that's even better because you can use them as a starting point and you can tweak them a little bit to match your personal style. Now let's move on and talk about the cube's performance out of the box. Out of the box, the GAN 16 was a bit disappointing. It was super fast, which some solvers might like, but for me it was way too fast and hard to control. After setting it up and lubing it with FC Super Honey on the tracks, FC Stealth, and FC Calm on the pieces, it got a lot better and became much more controllable. Post setup, this cube is really smooth. By GAN standards, it feels a lot like a Moyu Weilong type cube, which makes sense given the mechanism being relatively similar. It's still fast, but now it's a lot more controllable. Corner cutting is more than adequate, lockups are rare, and overall, the cube just feels like an amazing cube. It's genuinely fun and satisfying, and I really don't have any complaints. After using it for a while, my times with these cubes have been pretty solid. The setup and performance really translate into some pretty good actual solves. Now some of you guys might be wondering, is this my new main? I'm not completely sure yet. It's still to be decided, but so far it's looking like a serious contender. So is this cube worth it? Well, with a price tag of $84.99, it's definitely on the expensive side. But if you want a fantastic cube and you can justify the price, you can consider this cube. Therefore, it's honestly pretty good. If you're thinking about picking up this cube or want to check it out, link is in the description. Just remember to use discount code CUBE, CWB, at checkout there. In fact, you can use it to buy anything from the Cubicle. Thanks again to the Cubicle for sending me this puzzle, and thanks for watching this video.